So I know a lot of people are going crazy and losing their mind right now, wondering what is going on with cryptocurrency and what is going on with the stock market. Saylor has one of the biggest company holdings when it comes down to Bitcoin. He's an entrepreneur, and whenever he says something about cryptocurrency, it is serious. So he recently just did an interview on Bloomberg Technology. I decided to take some of the best clips from it and completely break it down just to give you an understanding of exactly what is going on with cryptocurrency, what's going on with Bitcoin, and the type of mind frame you need to have, because the goal is we definitely want to get wealthy with cryptocurrency. But before we get into it, I need you to press that like button, press the subscribe button to help out the YouTube algorithm, and also check out the description. I have a bunch of different ways you can get free crypto, free stocks. Just go ahead and check it out. With further ado, let's get right into it. I'm going to first start off by letting you know who is MicroStrategy and what does his company currently do.
Studied aeronautics, I believe, and then you pivoted to tech and founded MicroStrategy with one of your MIT fraternity brothers. And the software basically provides business intelligence, helps companies make sense of their data so that, for example, McDonald's could learn how many Big Macs it might sell in a given night in Chicago. Is that right?
Yeah, the idea is to extract all of the data at an atomic level, like every item sold every hour of the day in every store in the world for every McDonald's. What we discovered is the world's full of companies that have billions of lines of data, and they're trying to make sense of them, and they had to extract those sophisticated sets of data, compare them to each other in order to make a decision about a marketing campaign or a product launch, or even something as simple as how many items should I have on each store shelf. And it's worth a lot of money to get it right, and if you get it wrong, you find out that you don't have the products you need when people want to buy those things, and it costs you a lot of money. So we were in the right place at the right time there.
MicroStrategy holding all this Bitcoin, does it ever make you at all nervous?
No, actually, it gives me great comfort. I don't really think we could do anything better to position our company in an inflationary environment than to convert our balance sheet to Bitcoin, because we basically built a balance sheet on a non-sovereign store of value that's not a currency derivative. 2 years ago, we were sitting on a bunch of cash, and that cash was losing about 10% of its purchasing power a year. And then when COVID struck and the Fed took a more accommodative monetary policy, that cash started losing 25% of its purchasing power a year. So my anxiety was maximized around April, May of 2020 when we had the K-shaped recovery, and I realized that cash is trash, everything's about to get much more expensive, and we needed a strategy. So we adopted a Bitcoin strategy. It's driven up our stock by a factor of 5. In my opinion, it saved the company from a not very pleasant fate. So I'm totally pleased with where we are today.
I love how he said sitting on cash that was losing 10% a year. The market averages 10% a year, so his money is completely breaking even. Once the pandemic happened, he said it went up to 25%. So if you're not finding any type of investment that is bringing you 25% growth, you are technically losing money. Overall, he had to do something or completely lose the business, and he went towards Bitcoin, and it's a smart investment.
The decision to bet on Bitcoin, to acquire the thing, would you say that's your Phoenix moment?
I would say it probably is. I never said it like, or thought about it like that, but I feel like most of my life was leading up to this point, and I understood the power of dominant digital networks like Google and Facebook and Amazon and Apple, because I rode that for a decade. I also understood the detriment of not being that dominant network. MicroStrategy competes against Microsoft. We compete against companies 100 times as big as us. When we got to 2020, what I saw was the winning strategy is digital transformation if you have the dominant network. The losing strategy is to continue to work harder and exponentially harder for a currency growing exponentially weaker. And I had a sense of the consequences if we did nothing, because I had seen the demise of 99% of my competitors, and I could see where we were headed if we stuck with the status quo. We would have to either adopt a Bitcoin strategy or sell the company, and we elected to pursue Bitcoin.
What was the reaction from investors, from other CEOs, CFOs, when you put Bitcoin on your balance sheet in such a big way compared to the way they're reacting now?
You know, many people didn't really understand Bitcoin very well. They haven't taken the time to focus on it. Even today, I would say that 98% of the population hasn't spent 10 hours thinking hard about Bitcoin. So in the year 2020, I think most people were just ignoring it. It wasn't really registering with them, maybe 1%. I think that when we talked to our investors, what was interesting is privately, most investors were aware of Bitcoin and they thought it was a good idea. Publicly, their institutions that they're part of have a 3 to 5 year time lag from the point at which they can adopt new ideas.
Digital transformation versus not changing. You got to think of different companies like Blockbuster, Family Dollar, Video House. There was a time Blockbuster was the place to go to get your movies. Now you just literally go to Netflix or you go to Redbox. But overall, they failed to evolve. We look at Kodak when it come down to taking pictures. We didn't take pictures on phone. We was taking pictures on a disposable camera, and they failed to evolve. He realized with his company, he was going to have to sell it or he was going to have to evolve, and he had to make a very uncommon type of decision. And it was one of the best decisions to do. Now, another thing that is unique, he said 98% of people really have not done any real research. I love how he broke down and said 10 hours. What did he necessarily mean by 10 hours? You know, whenever you get hooked onto something, you start learning about religion, you start learning about consciousness, aliens, whatever it is, you would do research. After more research, you would watch YouTube after YouTube, read articles, start ordering books, start talking to friends, join different communities, join different Facebook groups to learn about this one thing. He's saying majority of people never really did some real tangible research about Bitcoin, and if you did, you'll probably be in it. Now, he gave us a good insight when it came down to big business. The average business have 3 to 5 years before they are able to adapt any new philosophies when it comes down to moving their money. Invest in infrastructure. When you want to grow and stay ahead, you have to be willing to change right now. You can't wait 3 to 5 years. It's going to be too late.
So about this possible winter, are you really not feeling the cold?
Look, if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, a short time horizon is 4 years, a mid-time horizon is 10 years. The right time horizon is forever. You know, Warren Buffett said, you know, if you wouldn't hold it for 10 years, you shouldn't hold it for 10 minutes. So if you look at the course of 4 years, no one's ever lost money over 4 years holding Bitcoin. And if you look at, you know, our experience, we started buying it at $10,000 and now it's up by a factor of 4. So given the right time horizon, you're fine. So it's a blessing and a curse. The blessing is it makes it the most exciting, interesting thing in the financial universe everywhere in the world. And the curse is it can induce anxiety for people that have a short attention span or are focused on a narrow time horizon.
For the new people that is watching this today and don't know too much about cryptocurrency, listen to this part. It basically said invest in cryptocurrency minimum 4 years. If you invested in Bitcoin, you never lost money. The average person needs to be invested in 10 years and the OGs need to invest for life. You gotta have the Warren Buffett philosophy. I talk about Warren Buffett on my channel nonstop. That's why the companies you usually see me invest in usually make money because it's companies that I personally believe will be here 20 years down the line. Warren Buffett said, if you don't believe this company will be here years from now, do not invest in it. And that's the way I look at it when it comes down to cryptocurrency.
What do you think then is behind this early 2022 crash?
I think that there's a lot of dynamics here. If you look at the entire crypto ecosystem, you have a set of regulatory uncertainty, especially regulatory uncertainty around stable coins and crypto tokens, and whether or not they're securities. And that creates a little bit of anxiety. You have a lot of leverage offshore. Right? You have a lot of crypto exchanges that can trade with up to 20x leverage. And those crypto exchanges have many, many tokens that are cross-collateralized. And between them and the DeFi exchanges, you can get much higher than 20x leverage. So that's a second source of volatility. The crypto markets are almost designed to encourage volatility. And that creates kind of a love-hate relationship between the crypto ecosystem and the Bitcoin hodlers. The Bitcoin hodlers are holding for, a decade, and sometimes for 100 years and sometimes for 1,000 years. And yet you've got fast money hedge funds that have a tax incentive, a huge amount of leverage, and massive volatility. But you have two totally different investment mentalities here. And when they come together, the result is you've got, in my opinion, the world's least risky asset to hold over the next century called Bitcoin. And you've got the world's most volatile, fast money market, called crypto. And they're both joined at the hip, for better or for worse, in the year 2022.
Regulatory uncertainty. That reminds me of something like XRP, Ripple. Ripple is going through that lawsuit when it comes down to, is it a security? Unfortunately, everything is going to come over to the regulated side. Now, he didn't necessarily say staking, but he was basically talking about staking, and banks really can't keep up with it. If you invest X amount of money with this coin, you're getting a 12% average. You're getting 50% average. You're getting 1,000% averages. Banks is looking at that, and they have to find a way to get in on a pot. When he talked about Bitcoin, he said it is basically a battle of the two-headed snake. One side of the snake is Bitcoin. Other side is just crypto, and you got the wild, wild west on the other side. So it all started from Bitcoin, but everything else got so wild. It's like a love and hate relationship. You just gotta take the good with the bad.
So clearly you're a hodler. But for the people who are terrified, who have never been on this roller coaster before, shorter term, what does the trajectory of Bitcoin look like to you this year?
I feel like it's consolidating at this level. This is a great entry point for institutional investors. I talk to high net worth individuals, family offices, public company executives, private company owners, and they watch Bitcoin run up in 2021. And there are a lot of people that would be afraid to own it if it was going up 400% a year. But if they're staring at it and it's 40% off the all-time high and it's consolidating, and they see that it's being embraced by people like Bill Miller, by very well-respected investors. It's being embraced by the regulators. It's being embraced by senators and congressmen and public investors and public companies. They're looking at this as like a good entry point. I'd be remiss, Emily, not to make a more important point, which is what's really going on here at a macro level is inflation. The CPI headline inflation is 7%. Look at the Turkish lira. It's collapsing. The peso is collapsing. So there's a volatility story for a conventional investor in Manhattan that's got a portfolio of equities. But 75% of the world can't buy the S&P index. They're in Africa, Asia, South America, and if they've got their assets in banks, they're going to have them seized. They can't buy the equity. So the real story here is digital property that solves a problem that 8 billion people face.
I love his mindset on this because he can really care less what Bitcoin does. When you got this much money and you believe in something, he don't care if Bitcoin go up or down because he know within the next 4 years it's going to be higher than what it is today. That's what history tell you. And one of the most important things out of everything he said, he didn't say regular people. He said businesses. He said this is a good buy-in point for businesses, for big-time companies. I promise you right now, companies are buying cryptocurrency and Bitcoin more than they ever did in their life. They are getting a 50% discount at this point. A lot of people were scared to get in. Highs was $60,000. It just kept on going up. But now, companies are buying big. You have to have that type of mindset. If you ever want to become wealthy and rich with cryptocurrency, we have to start buying when everything is red, when everybody is scared. This is our time to work as hard as we can to buy.
The big question is then, are you going to buy more? Yes or no?
Yeah, we're going to buy more. We're buying more with our cash flows. We've adopted a Bitcoin standard, Emily. That means that when we generate cash, we sweep it into Bitcoin. We've been generating, anywhere from $70 to $100 million of cash flow. So we will also buy Bitcoin with debt. We bought Bitcoin with $1.7 billion worth of convertible debt. We bought Bitcoin with a $500 million senior secured note. that we pay 6 1/8% interest on. We also issued $1 billion worth of equity at the market, and we converted it all into Bitcoin. So combinations of cash flow, equity, debt, potentially through other partnerships.
Now that statement was a completely game changer. If you learn anything throughout this interview, adopt the Bitcoin standard. I never heard a CEO of a company go in like this. He said literally all of their profits go into Bitcoin. So when you make money, it go into Bitcoin. He said their debt, they literally borrow money. So think of this. Hey, bank, I need $50 million or $500 million. He's taking that money that he borrowed, paying 6%, and literally is putting it into Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin do 100%, is it worth borrowing that money? But you have to be willing to take the risk. If the price go down, you have to still pay that 6%. But he know over time, at least 4 years, is going to go up. I'm surprised he even said that. I don't even know if it's legal for him to say that. But that just tell you his mindset when it come down to investing in crypto.
Which way do you think the Washington winds are blowing?
There's a profound shared appreciation that digital assets are the future of the financial industry, and the United States needs to lead. And I've been pretty impressed at the support in the Senate and Congress from the administration and from regulators all around the world for this entire crypto economy. And in the use case as digital property, I think that the regulatory treatment is pretty clear. If you sell it at a profit, you'll owe capital gains on it, just like if you sold any other property. I think that with regard to the cryptocurrencies, the stable coins like Tether and Circle, they're going to be regulated as currencies. Clearly, the administration wants to see FDIC approved and insured banks issue them. So I think that, that we're going to see the banking sector enter into the stablecoin market. I think that many other cryptos are deemed as securities and will be deemed as securities, and they're going to be regulated as securities. I think that the marketplace is waiting to see what those expectations will be. And I think it's be regulated as securities. I think that the marketplace is waiting to see what those expectations will be. And I think it's pretty clear that the writing is on the wall with regard to crypto exchanges, right? The SEC wants them to abide by the principles and the rules of national securities exchanges. And they've said that in the spot ETF denial letter that they wrote, and on several occasions. So I think the regulation is coming to the exchanges. I think regulation is coming to to the crypto security tokens. I think that with regard to stable coins, this is going to be a good thing. Right now, the stable coin market is maybe $170 billion all in. It's grown dramatically, but the truth is there's a demand for trillions of dollars of US dollar stable coins. And the reason that that entire market hasn't grown by an order of magnitude is because companies like Amazon and Microsoft and government agencies aren't going to move billions of dollars of stable coins around unless they feel comfortable that Treasury and the administration endorses them. And when we see FDIC approved banks, when you see a JP Morgan issue a stable coin, you may see $1 trillion worth of that. And let me just characterize the entire movement. This is a rotation from an entrepreneurial driven industry to an institutionally driven industry. And we're sitting at this point where we're crossing the chasm. And the question is, which entrepreneurs will be institutionalized and come public and get the appropriate regulatory licenses? Which existing be institutionalized and come public and get the appropriate regulatory licenses? Which existing institutions will choose to enter the market? Which banks, like the Silvergate banks of the world, will enter the market? And then there will be a shakeout, and obviously 6,500 cryptocurrencies are not going to be around here in a decade. You're going to see many of these things go away as the industry shakes out and as it matures.
On this part, he talked about digital assets are the futures, and he chose his words wisely because he was really talking about NFTs and the metaverse, where everything is going digital property. Just let's rewind that part and listen to his words. He understands where everything is going digital. I'm still kind of wondering why he's not as heavy on Ethereum at this point, because if you believe everything gonna go all the way towards NFTs and that side of digital, you got to invest more of that money into Ethereum. Probably already is. And when it comes down to the banks, I talk about it on my channel all the time. You put your money in a savings account, you are gaining 0.001% versus you putting your money in a stable coin, you are earning 10%, 20%. They just really can't compete at this time. So they have to do something different to try to compete. And it's going to be up to you on how much money do you want to get, because the government is going to get involved. Same thing as marijuana. People is able to make their own money on the streets, but after a while they said, hey, we need to regulate this, we need to tax it. They are going to do the same thing with Bitcoin, but more money is going to be made on the left side versus the right side. What side are you? My final thoughts about everything is I absolutely love the interview. I got the link in the description where you can watch it all the way through. We are going to be okay. We might have a bad month. We might have a bad quarter. We might have a bad year. Just know, just slowly keep on investing. Do tons of research on whatever coin you end up investing in. And once again, make sure you press that like button. Press the subscribe button, leave a comment that help out the YouTube algorithm, and also check some of the links in the description to get you some free crypto and free stocks, since you are losing a lot of money right now. And I'm out.